Welcome to When Not Yet Becomes Right Now, the podcast where we dive deep into the moments of transformation, the times when not yet shifts into right now and everything changes. I'm your host, Jen Ginty, and this podcast is all about those pivotal moments in our life journeys. You know the ones, when the hesitation fades, when we take that first step, even if it feels like a leap. It's in these moments that growth and healing begins. Each episode will explore stories of resilience, moments of clarity, and the sparks that ignite real change. From personal experiences to expert insights, we'll uncover how people navigate the complex journey we call life and come out stronger on the other side. Whether you're searching for that spark in your own life or just curious about how change unfolds for others, you're in the right place. We'll discuss the ups and downs, the breakthroughs and setbacks, and how to embrace the right now, even when it feels out of reach. Because sometimes the hardest part of the journey is realizing that the moment you've been waiting for has already arrived. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's get started. Hello and welcome to When Not Yet Becomes Right Now. Today I have a fabulous guest. Her name is Sasha Greenridge, and Sasha is a certified mindset coach who uses gene keys to help women break free from seeking validation outside themselves. She guides them to go all in on their own worth, breaking free from codependency and stepping into self-love, independence, and self-reliance. Through her own journey of redefining her story, Sasha empowers others to do the same, helping them master their craft and live their uniqueness without outside interference. With intuitive awareness, she leads women into a new way of being, confident, whole, and truly enough. Welcome, Sasha.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So why don't we get right into it? What's your origin story?
So, all of that, the seeking validation, the seeking happiness from others, really stems from childhood. I like to go that far back because looking back as a 43-year-old, I realized I was such an odd child. And I can remember I can remember being such an odd child, but I was so happy. And it really wasn't until I got deep into elementary school that I noticed a lot of, things that weren't acceptable, or all these weird things I would say or eat, or like the way I like to do things. And just slowly that piece of me just started to break away. And then it was just more about how can I fit in so I don't stand out too much in this negative way. And that kind of went through till high school, and just kind of people pleasing tendencies just intensified, especially with my parents and things like that. And I always joke that like they passed the baton off to my husband, who, like, it's like, okay, well, what is he like now? And like, okay, check, I got married, I did this, I did that. And until like about 35, where I was like, I didn't know who I was. I couldn't really put my finger, it's obvious now, but I couldn't put my finger on why the heck I was so miserable. I had these amazing kids. And even then I was almost about to start that cycle again, because they're a bunch of odd bugs too, but I love them for it. And I'm so happy that I'm this cycle breaker now. But it really did stem all the way back from there, and just really not owning who I was, not even knowing who it was. And when my coach had just said, like, what do you want? And it really took me a year, because I was going through what my parents wanted for me, what my kids expect from me, what they're used to, and my husband and everything else. And I was like, oh my goodness, I really, there's a couple of, bands that I know I love, like, really, really love. And I'm sure of that. And I don't care who else likes them or not. Like, I love them. But aside from other like little things like that, like it was really quite sad. And then the next thing that I had to learn was like, that was my choice. A lot of things that have happened to me and where I was, like that was another hard thing. So that like I had to really accept. But it really did bring me to where I am today and doing what I do today and leading me into different productive paths and much better, like, healthier relationships and things like that.
You know what? It's amazing that you said you were such a happy child,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you deserved to feel that happiness as a child. And
Yeah.
it's those social constructs that made you feel like you weren't worthy,
Yeah.
right? That you weren't supposed to be happy in the way that you are in your own skin.
Yeah.
Now, did you feel that from everywhere? Was there pressure from not only the outside world, but also in your family?
Yes. So growing up, my parents are from the Caribbean. My dad's from South America. He's from Guyana. My mom's from Trinidad. And so there's almost like a strict, like they're very strict and they're very, very set on in their ways on how they want to do things, and you have to go to school. So right there was a lot of, things like that going on. But I got it from all sides because I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, and back in the 80s and 90s, I literally could count on my hands how many like other black people there were. The district now, I actually work for the district, and it's gotten better, but it's still mostly predominantly white. And that played a huge part because there's so many expectations that obviously cannot fulfill. There's no way I'm going to be looking my hair like to do anything. It was almost an impossible like ask. And um but I persevered. I was really, really good at making friends, but sometimes at the detriment of myself. And really looking back at that now and some of the people that I was trying to please. But yeah, all through elementary, which is kind of where that started. And it's like, okay, like there was who I was, and then like what I looked like, and then trying to please these parents at home, and I did struggle in school. So that made it a lot more difficult as well. So I was always trying to overachieve, and anything that I even remotely found that I was good at, I wanted to excel at it. Again, this was for other people. A lot of it was for other people. Some things like track and field I enjoyed. But really, it was a bunch of passing off the baton, like an unhealthy ways of trying to please people. Even the track coach, like it quickly, as soon as they discover you're good at something, it's like, okay, like now it's fun, but it's now competitive. And that like changes like everything. So it that is what I've been conditioned to, and just kind of just trying to be this chameleon that fits in with everybody, but yet I was absolutely alone and nowhere. And that was me up until like 35. I mean, really, even at my job too, also like it was working for this district again and really being one of maybe three or four people of position in this in the school district is really tough. And you become that th- I almost don't like what I've become, because it was just like, oh, she's that, I guess it was that easy black person to talk to because she likes the same things that I do, and she kind of gets me, and I don't have to try too hard to I guess like learn more about like blackness or whatever it is. So I made it very easy for a lot of white people for a very long time to uh kind of just fit in. And that's what I was. I was just this chameleon. And it went through back, I can think also in college and high school. That's kind of how that went. And now it's a lot different. And how I show up, and shedding a lot of that. But through all of that, I've learned a lot of things about my friends, the ones that are still my friends, and their cultures, and being able to teach them the correct way of, being respectful and things like that, because I think a lot of people thought they were allowed to speak to me or treat me a certain way. And, I feel great that now I have a voice to kind of speak up about that, amongst a whole other things of, being a woman as well and a mom. I think at that point I just had enough, and I was like, this is crazy and exhausting.
Mm. It's interesting how we become those people pleasers when we're very young and chameleons to give others so that they don't feel uncomfortable. We're giving ourselves this idea that we have to be uncomfortable so that everyone else can be comfortable. And that includes that respect part
Yeah.
of it. It makes me so sad that this people pleasing turned into allowing, not so much allowing, but not knowing how to handle the disrespect. If does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was really good at that. Like, and even now it's just when somebody says, I forget, and I'm learning it now because when somebody says, "Oh, I'm so sorry," or something like that, and you're like, it's okay, but it wasn't. So I'm like, I'm learning to say, even now, like I have to pause. It's thank you for that. Just saying thank you for that, because you still, whatever it was, like you're saying sorry because you did something wrong. It could be something major and it could be something so minor, but like think about that, like how we always just say, oh no, it's okay. Like, oh, and sometimes it's not. It
Right.
can be a little problem, but instead of just saying, oh no, it's okay, it's just saying, oh, thank you for acknowledging that. And so like that's where I'm trying to get better, and just kind of, even just like when you start saying that like a bunch of times, it kind of models for like other people that, oh, okay, I can, use that too, or it's okay. Like it just feels better. And instead of just kind of just advancing more and more of this like people pleasing tendency, that we just keep perpetuating.
Well, again, it's that discomfort. It's not allowing others to feel uncomfortable and therefore making ourselves uncomfortable and
Yeah.
accepting that for ourselves. And I'm really glad to hear that you've learned, you're learning to be able to state when you feel disrespected or when somebody needs to be more sensitive
Yeah.
to your needs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
now
absolutely.
you said this went into through your marriage and with your children. How did that manifest?
It's just, well, when you don't have a sense of self, one, it's just a lot of people get used to, and he especially just got used to the way things were. I think people they don't like to admit that they have this power over people, or I think a lot of us don't realize how much we play on other people's anxieties or emotions and things like that. And that is what he did. And it was just when you get to a point where there's no boundaries, there is constant disrespect and there's arguing and things like that. It's the blame. Even now, I still wrestle with it, but coaching myself, it's not on him. And this was another hard thing. It's what I allowed. And I know people are going to jump in and just be like, no, you didn't do that. Like, you didn't, whatever. But I did, because at any point, and it's never, sometimes it's just not the easiest thing to do. At any point, you could leave, you could say stop, you do all of these things. Um, but it is like I've come to terms, okay, this is what I allow. And that didn't sit right, but it wasn't something that I was going to continue to allow anymore. Um, and I learned really what boundaries really were. And so a lot of people think like, I'm going to set a boundary, I'm going to draw a line in the sand, and I'm going to tell that person that they need to do this. he needs to stop. He needs to work on his temper. He needs to stop being angry. He needs to stop, 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 stop. And that is such BS. So what a boundary actually is, and what I've learned, and it really changes the game for everything. It's you drawing a line in the sand, but it's saying, if you do that, I am going to XYZ. So if somebody is smoking and you don't like it, it's like, oh, if you continue to smoke around me, I'm gonna leave. Instead of telling that person like to do, whatever, it's you controlling yourself, because that is the only person that we can control.
Hmm.
And so that was like a major thing. And I know people really are going to think like that doesn't work. But fast forward now, like that's all I do is, if you continue to act this way, I'm going here. If you continue to talk to the kids like this is what I'm going to do. It's always what I'm going to do. And although like certain things still stand, is, he just like, it's really miraculous, like how all of a sudden people just like start acting differently, but because they want to. I'm
Yeah.
not controlling anybody. All I'm saying is what I do. If he continues to act like this, yeah, like I mean, I'm not here being like, oh, I'm going to stay and put up like there's enough of a boundary where it's like, yeah, I'll leave. And you just develop this sense of self. And that's really what started, confidence, self-confidence, sense of self, and just being like, I have control of this. Like I can't control him. I don't want to. It's exhausting. I'm enough for me. So
Mhm.
I don't want to control anybody else. But this is what I get to do. Like I get to like control myself. We can only control what we can control, and we can only allow what we allow. And I have my own power over myself again. It felt amazing.
Yeah. And boundaries. There's a lot of talk about boundaries, and they're so extremely important. But if you weren't used to boundaries since you were a child, it can be very hard to create boundaries and keep them.
Hmm.
It's one
Yeah.
of those things that if you've never had boundaries before, and I'm talking about boundaries on other people, right?
Yeah.
That we didn't
Yep.
put boundaries up for ourselves, that it can be so hard to put them up and not feel badly about putting them up when
Yeah.
they're actually very important in life overall, is to be
Y-
able to put up boundaries and have people understand them and that you can enforce them.
Yeah. Because it's so important. Looking back now, I think a lot of parents don't realize this. I can remember people being, oh, speak to so and so on the phone. Like I was a deathly like shy child. Like I don't care if you were my favorite uncle. If I did not in that moment want to do that, and then somebody's shoving a phone in your face, or the biggest thing, and like it's like I understand that so many people are going to be like kind of offended, but like the hug situation,
Yeah.
it's not okay. It's not. I just remember like, here's so and so. They met you when you were a baby, and let's say I was like 5. Yeah, no, I don't know you. I don't know you. And I remember, yes, their family, yes, your parent trust, but that did not come from me.
Right.
And you're just being shoved, and that can go with other situations. And so that's something where my parents get so pissed. But that's where with my kids, because the apple in the tree, like they have some traits for me. It's no, that's not okay. He doesn't feel like whatever. And I love some of my friends so much that are, no, it's okay, Sasha, he's gonna warm up to me. Like, because even, I mean, you could say hi, that's being polite. But they know, like, even though it's their like, godmother and this is my best friend, if they haven't seen him, like Gabriel just takes time to warm up, and they know that. And then all of a sudden he'll just kind of creep over and then he just starts to talk and everything else. But that's the awareness everybody else has to have. So they know that you have to introduce yourself. You do have to say hello. But anything that's in your personal space or anything like that, just really helping them with that boundary and just being like, no, that's not like, okay, not just shoving all of that.
I
addiction
completely
in her
I
face.
completely agree about the boundaries for children. Body boundaries are extremely important
Yeah, I don't care
because,
who it is. Yeah.
again, boundaries are meant to keep us safe, and boundaries can cause people to feel uncomfortable. And the whole hugging situation, the getting kisses situation, if your child says no, that makes the other person uncomfortable. And you don't want that other person to be
Yeah.
uncomfortable, when you should be thinking about what's the comfort level for my child, so that they learn the proper boundaries, and that
Yeah.
the people who aren't going to get a hug understand that it's an appropriate boundary.
Yep. And they all get that now. And it's so funny how even just family members that they used, the same people that used to do this to me, they hang back and they kind of just, okay, we say hi, we do a fist bump or whatever, and then they notice like the kids come around, like they will always come around to them. But it makes me really happy that they just have this sense of self already. It just took me so gosh darn long to get, and it's there's a couple of times I'm like, ooh, that's kind of harsh, but like she's speaking up for herself.
Mhm.
We tweak things, like there's a way of just kind of being a little nicer about things or whatever, but they have their sense of self, and like it's really I really love how I kind of respect their design, who they are, who they be, and kind of work around that so that way we can kind of coexist and they can coexist with other people and what their strengths are, and just kind of they just have this sense of self already that I'm just so stinking proud of. I'm really, happy for them.
And it is a respect thing. All
Yes.
humans deserve respect from the moment, as far as I'm concerned, the moment they're conceived. When
Yeah.
they're born, they're humans that deserve respect. And that, I think, is the most important takeaway from that, is that you need to respect other people's wants and needs as well. We all
Hmm.
have them, and ours aren't going to always match up with the other person that we're with. And that's okay. If we can respect each other, we can both feel a sense of self. Like you said,
Hmm.
that there's that sense of self. And there's a self respect level to it as well. Children learn self respect from their parents, from what their parents teach them and what they're allowed to do, and allow them to choose who hugs them, who touches them, and who interacts with them. It's learning appropriate boundaries.
Yep. Yep.
So after all these years of not feeling as though you've been able to have the boundaries and feeling the respect that you deserve, what was it that made the change for you? What was that
It
right now moment?
it was it was really starting to get to that 35 mark and just kind of saying this, I am so, like, it was actually just going inward with myself and just saying this cannot be all that there is. And finally admitting that I was grossly unhappy, really confused, and just at an end. I just kept repeating, this can't be all that there is. And there wasn't. And I, at the time, was working with a network marketing company. And so there you have to dig deep and you're really going into a lot of mindset stuff. And I stumbled upon my coach, who I still work with today. And fast forward, she had done some work with Bob Proctor when he was alive, and that was her mentor. And so we learned so much through her and through Bob before he passed away. And then we were introduced to Gene Keys in human design. So I was certified in her coach program. Um, and we started to learn Gene Keys through Richard Rudd and human design, which was absolutely it's like putting into melding like Bob Proctor's work and some of it being pretty vague, like really important work, but vague. And then finally being like, oh my God, this just puts all the holes, fills all the holes. And I got a sense of self that like there's some stuff I knew about myself, but then there's some stuff that was just like, are you serious? That's who I am like meant to be and show up. Are you kidding me? This is freaking awesome. And I have solid like evidence that I'm like, this is it. If I can rise to this potential. And so it was so powerful. And that was my turning point because there's no way I would be here or like doing any of this work or meeting the people I have met, um just playing, it wasn't even playing small, just not even having a sense of self. um
Tell me more about
and
Bob Proctor.
so Bob Proctor, he was big on studying that Think and Grow Rich piece. He wrote a really powerful responsibility article that we still like kind of like go through today, and really taking that blame off of like everybody and circumstances and all of these things, and just really taking that on, really studying what your paradigms are and how to become this person and things like that. It was really, really great work. And if you can get through, some people can get through Think and Grow Rich and some people can't. You know that he would have this like stick figure and it would be it was like your conscious part and it would be this antenna, and it's all the things that we're bringing into our mind, and then there was an unconscious part, and I kind of got that idea. I was okay, you're onto something. I get that. But it wasn't until seriously I got the body graph and I'm okay, this is what my unconscious is, and this is what this means, and this is what the conscious side of it means. And I had words and structure to what it was that I was learning from Bob. So
What is Gene Keys?
Richard Rudd was a student of Ra Uru, who created human design. The main part that really we focus on is your public role, who you're meant to show up as. And there's a number there. It's all very confusing, but I help people through that. But knowing your public role and what they call your core, what we call your core four, he calls it the activation sequence, your life's work, your evolution, your radiance, and your purpose. Your radiance and your purpose is your unconscious part that I did not know about myself. I was like, I just had no idea that this person is what I was capable of. My conscious part, I was very aware because, especially in my public role, that I was meant to really study things, go to the depths of knowledge, and always fearing of knowing enough. And this other part is the complete opposite, the adventurer, the failing forward, things that mine are kind of not, they're not sync, they're opposite. So it makes it very difficult. It almost feels like it's like two different people trying to like kind of work together to get me moving forward. Um, but it makes up 70% of who you are. And that's, if anything, what I teach people. If they, choose to go further than that, that's great. But like really pinpointing, and some women study for months on this one life's work, because there are a bunch of spheres, one life's work sphere, because that was something that they might have known what the paradigm was and where they were always struggling, but they never knew what that potential could possibly be. And it gives them this new life into all of these things. And so for me, it was a really big push, because it was like, oh, okay, I know when I'm feeling kind of down, one of my what they call shadows, or we call paradigms or problems, is inertia and indifference. So when I really get down, especially with business, I start to stop everything. Everything stops. My entire world stops. And then I kind of get into this mindset where I'm like, I don't really care. I don't really care. But now knowing that that's the piece, that's the paradigm, like Bob would talk about that, but it would be like, well, what is that? Like, we didn't have a clue then. I know exactly for me now. It might be different for you. It will be different for you. I am able to say, okay, this is coming up. What the heck is going on? Like yes, I stop, but I'm able to think and say something big is coming up and I'm really anxious about it. What's coming up?
Can you give me a basic walkthrough of how you discover this information?
You have to put in your birth date, the time and place you were born. There's quantum physics, age-old knowledge, some astrology. It stems from the I Ching, which is the oldest text and knowledge that we have out there. You put in your birth date, the time you were born, where you were born, all of that stuff, and it spits out your gene key profile. You're going to look at it and you're going to see a bunch of spheres, and you're going to be, I don't even know where to freaking start. That's where I do come in to guide, because it is a self-study and that's what it should be. Because I've told you my experience. If you were educated in the gene keys, it would be different, right? Because you're teaching just generically and not really going through. So it's really important for me to show people so they can study themselves. It's like following the yellow brick road. It's you start at your life's work and your evolution. And you start to learn about that, and where those two problems are, those I almost guarantee every single person I've coached, that is where the biggest problem is. 90% of the time something will come up and that is exactly where it is. I have people kind of explain and study themselves and just kind of say, go along with their story, and just knowing in the back of my head, oh yeah, this is coming up for them. They start to see that themselves. But then we go from the life's work to the evolution, which is your conscious side. We are moving toward your unconscious side. And that's what they call the breakthrough. So once you start to kind of, because we're never done, right? We're always falling down and coming back up. I have read my core four like a million times, and I always will, because something new will come up. But when you're moving from your evolution to your radiance, that's called your breakthrough. That's when you start to move into this unconscious part. We pretty much have knowledge of it, where it's what we're putting out in the world, our radiance and our purpose. That's our unconscious. It's what we're bringing out to the world. Sometimes it's not always the brightest thing. It's like, if we're not in being that woman, that man that we're supposed to be, we are radiating out negativity or whatever that shadow frequency is, which sometimes is not, it's just not great. But when we're in our power and we're really stepping into that person, we're radiating out like amazing things. And that's what other people see sometimes. And that's why people say, oh, you don't see that in yourself. It's really why. It's that unconscious part where I was blown away personally, because I had such a negative view. I had such a negative view of myself and such a lack of sense of self, that by the time I got this, and I'm doing so well and learning all this stuff, that by the time I got there, I was like, whoa, that's when you could see it here and there. That's part of like an entrepreneurial way, in which if you have a line 3 in your public role, that is the entrepreneurial way, which is you failing forward. It took a while to get to like that part. I don't really like to fail, but I'm looking at it now.
That's interesting.
And then,
I love the idea that you can have a line that pretty much tells you if you're an entrepreneur. Because like the way that I grew up, I've worked for people throughout my life, but it was never satisfying. What's satisfying to me is when I am an entrepreneur, when I'm doing for myself and I'm
it would be
bringing
so interesting
your
to see
work.
what's in your public role, because so besides each of these lines, there's 64 gene keys that you could possibly have, which makes it so unique. And some people have had very similar ones to me, but because of experiences and things like that, it's completely different. And some things that we might have similar things that come up, but in different ways or in different parts of our life. But after that number, there's like a decimal point and then a number, and that's where your public role is. So the first number is your conscious side. The second number is your unconscious side. So I'm what they call a 1-3. So my one loves to learn things, like I said, really loves to go to the depths of people and things and just kind of be this authority on knowing a lot. but coming in front of like you or other people or whatever, all of a sudden it's like, oh, do I know enough? Like that comes up all the time. Do I know enough? Do I know enough? And the three part, which is the complete opposite, which is like I have to get it through my head that it's this adventure. It's this like you got to fail. Just be like, oh, it's okay. We failed. We learn. Like at least we know that's not what it is. And that part when I've leaned into that and allowed it to kind of like since probably like last year to really let go and just really let it go I have taken off. I've just taken off. And
That's
there's a
great.
new sense of like, okay, I love to learn. So I give myself that time. But it's taking all of this and be like, what are you going to do with it? Like, go out and share this, go out and work with people. And so for other people like that have like a 2-4, like if you have a 2-4, like this line two is like a person that's like really good at things. And they're like, well, can't everybody do that? Can't everybody just like run and create this like software system? Like I thought everybody knew how to do that. And then the four side of them is this influencer. They're really good at bringing people in. They can just hold up something and be like, oh, this was amazing for me. And then they sell it. I'm not like that. And it's great to know that I'm not like that. The way that I market my business and how I show up and things like that are wildly different.
Hmm.
And there's just different strategies to people. Somebody who has a 5 is a leader, has a leadership role so on and so forth. So it's really, I mean, you just keep going. And once you start to get the bug, you could see how you just start to care about yourself and just study yourself. And then once you get a handle on that, wonder like the empathy. And what I've noticed with a lot of people, it's, oh my God, I get it now.
So when somebody comes to you, you put together this gene keys for them.
I give them their Gene Key profile. And what I'll do is I will give them their public role. And trust me when I say it's every single time, it's like, oh my God, are you in my head? Or this is absolutely crazy and this explains a lot. Or it's not just me. And so like that's just a little taste. And when women work with me, it's now taking it sphere by sphere. It's just again following, it's like a little zigzag, and we just kind of follow that. And we really like talk about things that are coming up now, but they're starting to study themselves and figuring out like this is why this comes up. There's a reason why a lot of my stuff comes up depending if I'm taking on something too much and it's just literally not in my design. You start to just kind of self-correct. It's like a GPS. It just comes back. And then you're not looking outside of yourself for much.
Hmm.
And what you're bringing out to people is yourself. Is just what you know you can contribute. You're not trying to be anybody else. And it happens. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing that this person is like on TV and that they're doing this. And then it's like, no, I'm not meant to show up like maybe in that way or the way that she's showing up, or I'm not meant to sell that or do that. And then it's just like, but that's so nice. And I'm genuinely happy for them. It's not like, oh my God, I'm so jealous or whatever. I'm genuinely happy for them because they figured out either how to just be in their design or they are just, they're just happy doing what they were meant to do.
Wow.
And I'm learning to do that as well. It's
Yeah.
really, really powerful.
Oh, it sounds
It's,
really interesting. It's pretty fascinating that we'd be able to, with some information about our basic selves, that
yeah,
you
it
can
takes
get
the
so much out
guesswork
of
out.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just taking the guesswork out of like it's out of it. I always like to say it's like when you used to coach and it's asking a lot of questions, which is still what I do. Um, but it's almost like you're able to almost be a surgeon now because now it's like you can cut through a lot of there's something they're telling you, but now you know where you know exactly where to look, you know exactly how to see this in themselves and the most important thing that I really try and get out there is for somebody to learn how to self-coach themselves.
Hmm. Yeah,
And that's, I mean, it's really like, it's really getting so in tune with yourself, because I don't need to really, be so in tune with you. You have to do that. You have to I can't be with people every second of the day. My coach can't be with me. But it's almost like sometimes I'm just like, oh, she would tell me, just go look back at your thing. And I literally can. I'm like, what's coming up? And you just get so in tune of where it's coming from, where you're just not being accordingly. And trust me, with your profile, it resonates so much because it's you. Here's your manual, here's your map. There's no guessing.
Wow. So where can people find you to work on this?
Yeah, so you can go to sashagreenridge.com. I will give you a free Gene Key profile, and little tidbits about your profile to kind of just really get you excited about yourself again, because I believe it or not, it's like most of us aren't, because we're looking at what other people are doing. And I can guarantee that when you're so focused on yourself, that it has been one of the most powerful things. And whether people work with me or not, the beautiful thing is so many women have said, thank you, I have a direction.
That's,
So
yeah.
some people continue on, and some people, it's like, I've set this course, and no matter where they go, it's one of the deepest things that you will go through. And so I really implore you to get to know what's coming up, because you just never know, like day to day, it's never going to be the right time and things like that. And
It sounds very, very interesting. Well, thank you for introducing us to Gene Keys and giving us an understanding of it. Again, I think it's very fascinating.
thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the podcast. This show is produced by Phoenix Freed LLC, and I'm your producer, Jen Ginty. We hope you found today's conversation insightful and inspiring. If you have a story of your own about when a not yet moment became a right now, we encourage you to reach out and share it. You can find more information about being a guest on our show at whennotYetBecomesRightNow.com. Remember, you are not alone on your journey. Whether it's a journey of healing, growth, or transformation, every story matters. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time with another inspiring episode.